The fifth meeting of interest-based bargaining between the Dickinson Education Association and the Dickinson School Board. Item number 1, do you guys want to, do the parties want to read pages 2 and 7?
We can do that.
Yep. The aims of negotiations. A typical negotiation has 3 distinct goals: to reach a desired and durable result, to reach agreement efficiently and fairly, and to keep the relationship intact.
The steps of IBB are defining the issue, identify interests, develop options, develop objective criteria, judge options by criteria, develop a solution, and then put the solution in writing.
Okay. Item number 2, review and approve March 30th, 2017 meeting minutes. Are there any corrections, additions, or revisions to the minutes?
We're good here.
School Board?
You have any?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Pass it down, please.
What? What's wrong?
Well, he signed that one, I'll have him sign this one.
Yeah, she gets to sign that one now,
Oh.
and she gets to keep that one.
Oh.
No, they're not gonna let me keep it.
I'll give that one to you.
The ink won't even be dry, trust me.
Item 3, tentative agreements. Tentative agreements are listed at the bottom. There are 2 verbal tentative agreements that have not yet been signed. The housekeeping items in the professional negotiated agreement and in the co-curricular salary schedule. Item that has been removed from the agenda, item K, amount of money deducted for day deducts, and signed tentative agreement was grievance procedure language. Item 4, topics for bargaining. Floor is open.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Fay.
in order to continue and hopefully rectify the simplified leave language and with the personal leave bank, we did send out some sample language. Who all needs one?
Mr. Rico.
Mr. Reed needs one, I think.
I have one.
Okay. And after last meeting, we were asked to come back with some sample language in regards to the personal leave bank, and so we sat down and looked at the sick leave bank as it is right now, and took some of that language, and then began to try and create a sample contract language. And this we have it as I, but it's technically could be H, based it's based on another sheet that we have, but it would be H currently right now.
Okay.
In the leaves and vacancy, the leaves aspect of of our negotiated agreement. So at this time, if you have any questions, we'd love to answer them.
I don't know that I had questions about the language so much as questions about the feasibility from the standpoint of central office administration.
Mrs. Ricks, this is the first time I've seen it, so I'm trying to read it.
That's okay.
This says days, we changed days to hours. So, I mean, there's some little things in there,
What are you looking at, Mr.?
Under 5.
but number 5,
Yeah.
you know, we did everything in
Right.
hours, but it says determine the number of days, so.
So would withdrawals from the bank also be in 1 hour increments? 'Cause that's not quite specified. It says a maximum of 48.
Well, with that, if we go with the other portion in
Yeah.
there, I suppose.
Oh,
It would all depend upon the flexibility of leave portion that
true.
we have.
Okay.
I mean, if we
That
can,
makes
if
sense.
we could address that right now too, if you wanted, Mrs. Ricks.
well, maybe we could let them finish
Right.
processing this for a second and then, because that's another question that we need to see if we've had any feedback on.
Well, it's difficult having just seen it.
Very similar to
But-
what's currently the sick leave bank.
I guess the question to me is how much work is it managing the sick leave bank? And how much additional work would it be to manage this personal leave bank?
First question I have is under application, where it says, after having used all of the accumulated sick, emergency, and personal leave days. Right now, personal leave days that have been banked are pretty well protected. And I guess it would need to be clarified if this language is going to override that language. Because if a person can apply for emergency leave after they've used their 2 personal leave days that they earned in the current school year, but if they have banked days, those days are exempt from having to be utilized before emergency leave is accessed. And so I think that would need to be clarified at some point. And at this point, the school district does not have an assistant superintendent for the 2017-18 school year. And so I don't know who the administrator would be that would be making the determinations about whether the leave would be granted other than the superintendent. And this language appeals for, or provides for an appeal to the superintendent.
And that came from the sick leave bank portion of it. I know we discussed at one point in time, within our group that, principals oftentimes know the situations far better than central office would, but that's again putting one more thing on the plate of a principal as well.
And then it would be harder, I think, for them to communicate and keep track of a bank that's district-wide.
Right.
If you're have multiple people granting days, it might be difficult.
Catastrophic, catastrophic, extreme or life-threatening might mean different things to different building principals, although,
True.
I mean, for continuity's sake, it really should be in one place. And, just to give some feedback on this, on the sick leave bank, since we've had a sick leave bank in the district, we've probably had only half a dozen cases that qualified, maybe more, trying to think back, but they're pretty, I mean, when you say catastrophic, life-threatening, it's usually on the tail end of those life-threatening things when it's granted. Sometimes not, but so it's not a lot of them, and I would guess that a lot of requests, as we talked about the need for those people, they wouldn't even come close to being approved because it wouldn't be life-threatening. I mean, I'm just saying. Because if you go under anesthesia, for a colonoscopy, that could be life-threatening. I mean, they make you sign off on. But generally thinking, we wouldn't grant sick leave bank for those.
Right.
Going up on the list.
So how many applications do you get? So I guess how much time is spent receiving and,
It's not a
filtering
lot.
applications?
It's not a lot, no.
And right now, are you the person doing that, or?
Both Cindy and I
Okay.
work on that together because she has to get the HIPAA release form because it's a medical issue. And then the form to them. In fact, we have an employee who contacted us and is sending in a sick leave bank request probably by the end of this week. Or that's what the employee indicated. And so that would be, I think, maybe the second one we've had this year.
And I think, based upon the sick leave numbers that we received from you last week, we're really looking at only a very few that would probably need this as well. If
When they're out.
the basically we were looking last year would have been 3 maximum
Okay,
because the 5 maternity leave obviously isn't catastrophic,
right.
but the other 3 potentially could be, and the one that's dealing with a life-threatening, could be life-threatening with a child.
Yeah.
I guess when we're looking at the intent of this, we're looking at the intent to help those people who have to deal with the recurring Mayo Clinic or Bismarck because there's no
Yeah.
doctor here.
So that being said, I think that between HR and others, it could be managed fairly economically,
Okay.
if that's the right word.
So do you think what you're describing, Mr. Fay, falls under the catastrophic illness? I mean, is this meeting the need that it was designed to meet, I guess, is the question.
We left catastrophic illness or injury in there simply because, like Mr. Reap just explained, we don't want somebody to go on vacation and then run out of sick days and then say, oh, we can go get more. This is for that person who's used all of them trying to deal with the issue and the disease or the illness,
Okay.
and has gone beyond now and isn't a day deducts.
So if it's ongoing, that it still qualifies under this, it's not a one-time?
Well, if it's for instance, the one who we looked at who has a child with a heart problem, is that catastrophic and life-threatening?
Would it be qualified under that, Mr. Reed?
You know, when we get those requests, it comes with documents from the doctors, and so I couldn't generically answer that question. It really depends on what physicians put in there and how they state it. And, each case is separately. And my question would be, how is this different than the sick leave bank if you're using the same definition? Because it seems to me that we've just cloned it.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. If this is, I mean, 48 hours is 6 days. If this is something that the board is in and the DEA are interested in, just change 20 to 22. Be done with it.
And I think, oh, sorry. What? I think in her situation, though, if she's taking her child to Mayo and it's not life-threatening, her appointments, but she does not want to miss it when they're going all the way to Mayo and be a part of that. So she would have to apply for a personal leave bank because it does not qualify under sick leave bank because it's not catastrophic in that sense, is what we're saying here. So since she's out of all of her days, she has to take day deduct now. So to prevent her from taking day deduct. So it's like not very many cases, but we're just trying to take care of maybe the few employees that might have to, you know, she has to go there. He's doing okay now, so.
Now, if we can find a way to simplify it so they don't have to take a day deduct, then yeah, we can scrap this.
Yeah, well, I don't think we're opposed to this. I think we just want to make sure, since the DEA isn't managing this, that we're clear on the intent, because some office administrator is going to have to interpret this. And so if it's more for situations like what Ms. Berglund's describing, then I think maybe we want to look at that language of how we're defining what it can be used for, just so that it meets the needs that it was intended to. That's all that I'm concerned about.
Because so potentially the checkup at Mayo would not fall under sick leave because it's not catastrophic.
Exactly.
So and that's what we're looking at, because that's
But would it with this?
and that's what
Yeah,
that's really was the intent
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah. It would just be my opinion that that same appointment would not qualify with this language.
Okay, so we would need to take a catastrophic illness or injury to mean, because we don't want it to be a very, I've got a cold and I'm out of days, so now I'm going to apply for this. You know, this. So I don't know how. I guess if I was an English teacher.
Significant.
Hardship.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you could maybe talk
Hardship.
about something that's causing financial hardship to the family, a medical condition, I don't know, or.
A recurring medical condition, because this is a recurring condition, that is significant. Heart is significant.
Yeah.
I think if you try to rewrite and put some of that in there, it might make more sense to the, I mean, I'm having a hard time separating the two policies right now. I really am.
Mhm.
They look exactly the same to me in terms of, only in this one, people are donating personal days instead of sick days.
So, not opposed to the idea.
Oh, no, not
Oh,
We
at
just
all.
have to figure out the
Absolutely.
logistics.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that they're actually going to get taken care of, that we're not going to create this and people will apply and we'll have to say, I'm sorry, you don't qualify.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll just make two more comments to maybe, in the interest of saving time, if the DEA is going to rework this and bring it back. Item number 3 talks about they wish to contribute on the end of the year. Does that mean calendar year? Does that mean contract year? Does that mean school year? And this language in here talks about a contract period.
Right. I know at the end of every school year, I think Mr. Reep's office puts out a a form that says how many days or how many hours you have of personal leave, and then we have the option of banking or collecting the money for it. And then I guess what we would look at is putting another option in of donating so many hours.
Yeah. And I don't think that we used to do that. We used to send the slip out for what people wanted to do with it. And because nobody ever rolled it into sick leave in the history of the world.
Notice you
But
just
that
bring
was an
up.
option.
Yeah.
And you can't bank more than what
Right.
payroll allows, so they've automatically just paid you for it in the past 2 years for sure. And I know in speaking with Mrs. Gabb, that's what she does. So you don't get notification, you get a check and go, oh. So there would have to be some trigger to say before that happens,
Right.
then Mr. Fay would like to donate his day and a half that he has left instead of get paid for it. But that could, I mean, that's logistics, that could be worked out. But you make a good point, because, I mean, I don't think payroll would do that on December 30th, end of the year.
Mhm.
I think that the term year needs to be more clearly identified. There's no misunderstanding, because in item 6, it says individuals requesting may apply for a maximum of 48 hours per year. And year has a lot of interpretations in a school district. It could be a calendar year, it could be a school year,
Could even be health insurance,
it could be a health insurance year.
because that's October 1.
Then I didn't know what the usage report, what the purpose of the usage, I don't understand that, what that means.
The usage report would be, if we get, let's say, ideally every member gave 2 hours, that would be 500 hours. And let's say only one person uses 48 hours, we still have 450 hours left. Then would we need to ask for more day or for more hours? So they could make a decision, okay, we only use 48, still got 400 left, I don't have to give. Or I choose not to give this year. I choose not to donate. So it would allow them to make an informed decision on whether it's needed or not.
Mhm.
And we can certainly go back and make some changes to the language and bring that back again.
Yeah, and I think we all feel positively about it. We just want to make sure that
Okay.
get the kinks worked out.
Very good.
Okay.
Is this item 8? Is that what we just talked about?
Yes, item A.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Floor is open.
Did you want to go to item C?
We can go at item C, yeah. This one's much shorter to read.
Thank you.
I feel like I'm monopolizing the microphone.
Make your team, come on.
This would fall under the flexibility of leave portion of it. And again, it would fall under item 6 of the negotiated agreement, leaves. And basically, it would add a new E after personal leave. And then E, F, and G would become F, G, and H. So E would read, all leave will be in 30-minute increments. And because we do have a statement in there talking about 2 hours, that we would have to strike the first sentence of D, number A. D1A. Personal leave may be taken in minimum amounts of 1/4 day at a time, which is 2 hours. And we, upon discussing this, we know at the high school level that we're not taking it in a 2-hour chunk. You know, if we take a 4th period off, technically we should be leaving at 1:45 to take a 2-hour chunk, and that would be 16 minutes left of a 3rd period, which would be impossible to fill. So we're already given 16 minutes on a 2-hour chunk if we take a 4th period prep or a 4th period personal time.
Dr. Sullivan, were you able to visit with the cabinet about this topic yet?
It's scheduled for Monday.
Scheduled for Monday. Okay. All right. I think we're gonna have to wait for that answer to be able to move forward on this one.
Just in the interest of openness, based on a comment about 16 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
at the middle school next year, it's not going to be 16 minutes, it's going to be 20 minutes, because they're scheduled to have 50-minute periods.
Right.
So are we just transferring the problem from the high school to the middle school by making it 30 minutes? I'm just thinking that maybe the DEA needs to have, bargainers need to have some conversations about that privately, you know. And then the other thing that I would say is that rather than making all leave will be in 30-minute increments, item E, I think it provides more clarity if it's made item H, because it, at least in my mind, it's more clear that it applies to everything above. Where if we make it item E, it may not be as clear that it applies to all leave.
I guess we put it in item E because I guess that was after all the leaves and before leave of absence. So that was the reason why we stuck it there. But we could certainly put it in item H. It's not a big deal.
And maybe it would be appropriate for the parties to consider all leave, comma, personal, sick, etc., whichever ones the parties want to put in there, comma, will be in 30-minute increments. And it eliminates all misunderstanding.
Are you thinking about the lowest common denominator too, between
Well,
50 and 90? It's 10 pretty much, right?
Heck. If you want to cover it all, we better go to 5-minute increments then. If we're worried about, well, if we're worried about, you know, okay, now we're transferring a problem to the middle school and it's 50 minutes and that leaves 20, we're not going to be able to find a way to, I guess, satisfy every situation.
Probably not.
Unless you make your increments really, really small. I mean, so we have to come up with a solution.
I think as long as everybody is aware that it's not going to be perfectly even and your membership's okay with that, it's probably all right. Should we revisit this one next time too, and both parties can have conversations, make sure everyone's on the same page.
I think we have to revisit it anyway, because if it's not on the cabinet agenda till Monday, I don't
Right.
think you guys are going to be in a position to put anything into permanency.
Well, yeah, especially because I asked, it would be really rude to say I asked for input and then not get it, so. I appreciate the patience of waiting till we get all of the input that we need to make a good decision.
Item next.
Want to talk about the school calendar?
Floor is open.
Sure.
Okay. I think, we just wanted to have an understanding that if there would be another snow day, that the board has the ability to change the calendar. And that's all we're looking for is clarification on that item.
So what type of language would we put into the negotiated agreement that would allow that?
Well, I think that's the issue. I think, in our opinion, the way it's written right now generally is fine as long as the parties are interpreting it the same way. We just wanted to clear the air and make sure that we're all on the same page.
With the new schedule, currently there are 3 days scheduled.
Yes.
And how many years have we used 3 days?
I don't know, Mr. Reed?
Well, back in, no. I do recall one year, in fact, I was teaching at Gladstone, so that was back. There was no-
Oh, my God.
There was no school in Gladstone for the entire week. And in town here, I think they had 4 days in a row. But that was quite an anomaly.
Right.
In recent last 2 decades, I think well, Doug, since you've been here, we've never had more than 2. We've had a couple of 2s, and when Dr. Stremick was here, I think we had a 2 and then a 3rd one later in the year. You know, we had the October 4th and 5th 18-inch snow that snapped trees and power, and then we had one later when it was nasty. But yeah, I mean, you could have more than 3.
It's happened.
But not very often.
Yes.
Most of the times it would, the 2 that we had before was enough.
Sufficient, yeah.
And now it is, well, if we go 3. So what are your thoughts take one of the days that would be a day off in the spring? Would that be kind of like what was planned this year?
Right, so I think the intent is, well, we've learned our lesson, we're gonna put 3 days in the calendar now, so hopefully it will never be an issue. But if some year we use all 3 days, then a 4th snow day occurs, I think the board just wants to have the confidence to know that, and obviously it will be taken to the calendar committee to try and figure out what day would be best to schedule an extra day. But we just want to be able to feel comfortable that that's not going to come back to bite us, I guess, if we need to do that.
What would be the solution? Let's say it happens in middle April, where the only day left is Good Friday or Easter Monday, and there's already teachers or students who have plans for those days. What would the options be for them?
I guess that's the situation that,
And that was the situation this year.
right. I don't want to sound insensitive, but sometimes life just doesn't go the way that you plan it to go, and we have to meet state law,
Okay.
and so we have to
Would
have
you,
another day.
would the school district reimburse changed flight fees or cancellation of flight fees?
I don't think that would be the school district's responsibility, and I would hope that the calendar committee, who's made of teachers, would be able to provide the board with guidance on what would be the least painful day to schedule school on.
I mean, okay, I understand what you're saying, but if I've planned to be gone on, let's just say it's a Friday that we're supposed to have off, okay? And I have no personal days left. And our school district decides, hey, we had a snow day, sorry, but we're having school that day. Now I have to pay a day deduct because I have nothing left. That,
Have we ever run into this issue before, Dr. Sullivan or Mr. Reep?
Mr. Reep would be the best person to answer that question. I don't.
You know, I certainly, I don't know that we've gone beyond the 2 days. I think one year, and it might have been in '97, you know, and like when Grand Forks flooded and after that blizzard, we had some days, but the laws within the Century Code then allowed differently for makeup time, and we could do partial, we had adapted schedules and some things that were allowed, but you know, you're never gonna pick the day that it fits for everybody, and it's just, as Mrs. Rick said, one of those things where it doesn't go the way you hoped it would. The only one that would have protection, I believe, though, would be Good Friday, because that is in
Mandated.
Century Code,
Right.
and it's
Mhm.
mandated,
Yep.
and Veterans Day is, and Thanksgiving Day is, so you couldn't mess with those three. The rest would be fair game.
So I guess what we're asking for is just, I don't know the answer to your question, because I would hope that, you know, we could find a solution like using a teacher work day where people were planning to be there anyway and scheduling school on that day, or working it out between the two parties as best we could. I don't want to commit a future board or board president to a certain course of action in that situation. But I don't know, I think we kind of showed this year that we were willing to work with the DEA and try to find a solution that was best for everybody. So we just want to make sure that,
We keep the lines of communication open.
yeah.
What are the current Century Code options for makeup of days?
You know, I don't have those before me, and I'd have to look at that. I know there was some bills to soften that, and I don't think it happened. In fact, I don't think, I think there was a bill that said, now don't quote me on this because I didn't study the legislation very rigorously this year, but I think the governor no longer has the ability to, or he decided that he wouldn't be giving days back. Didn't that come in a memo?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, just saying, too bad. You know, you're gonna have school after Memorial Day. I will not forgive any. And so, administratively, through his administrative office, he's decided not forgiving any, the taxpayers paid for them, and you'll have school. You'll have the 175. And I don't think the rest of the language and code changed any. But he made that known. And so I'm guessing there are school districts that will have school after Memorial Day this year. Quite a few of them in these.
Somebody had said that if you have so many minutes extra in your days, that those count as well.
Yeah, there is a part in the Century Code. However, it has to be all schools in your district. And unfortunately, in our district, the high school doesn't have enough to go beyond what they require. And so we fall short because we sent a letter for an opinion on that to the Department of Public Instruction. And our elementaries in the Hagan Junior High had more hours total accumulated, but with the high school schedule they did not, and so they fell short of what they were asking. They said it has to be all your schools or none. Dickinson Public Schools denied. And it had to do with the high school.
I know, it's their fault.
Yeah.
I think with 3 snow days already being in the calendar, it's probably not gonna be a huge issue in the first place, but I totally understand both sides. Maybe one of our other, this is very out there, but maybe one of our other options for somebody like, because you don't want to punish someone that had it scheduled on a day off. Maybe they did have plans, and if they're out of personal leave, maybe that's a situation where we let them, hey, let's let them exchange their, it was one of our solutions for a different topic, but let them exchange their sick days for the personal day, just so they don't have to take that day deduct for that day or something if it ever happens. I mean, I really don't see it being an issue with 3 snow days already being in the calendar, but maybe that's something we can look at too, I guess, for specific situations maybe.
I don't think we meant to open a giant can of worms, but
You know, it just goes, you know, I know because we discussed that this year with when, you know, the decision was made. And I think that decision was taken in front of the calendar committee as well. And, you know, I guess, you know, we just have to look at if somebody has made all those long-term, you know. I was talking to Mr. Pender today. He's already planned for teachers convention next year going to Vegas. He got the rooms are booked, everything's taken care of. Well, you know, I guess it's banking on the calendar. And I understand where you guys want that flexibility. Absolutely. I understand that wholeheartedly.
I just think it's tough to have to tell somebody, you had that day off, now you're going to school, you had a plan, now you have to take a personal day. You know, especially if you don't have many, if you're a young teacher and you don't have a lot, that becomes a big issue. Now, if maybe you said, all right, we understand, like Ms. Berglund said, how about a sick day? Just be, it happened. You know, like I said, how often is it going to happen? But to have to give up a personal day because maybe in our mind, we're doing what's right.
mm-hmm.
We're taking off when we don't have school. And now, boom, it changes and I have to give up a personal day.
Or making an appointment that day for a doctor's appointment because, you know, the school board has stated, you know, we want you in the classroom.
Right.
Well, so we take our appointment that day and now we can't. And some doctors are extremely tough to get into.
Oh, I know. I think the answer, and it's probably not one that's going to be very popular, is that I would hope that we would weigh those on a case-by-case situation and try to figure out what the best thing to do would be. But we just need to know that everyone understands that in a situation that's highly unlikely to happen anyway, that the language allows us the ability to basically follow the law and provide a school day when we need to.
You know, I don't want to violate the law.
And there's a way to look at how many people are gone for personal leave on the ESOP or whatever, right? So I mean, if we were looking at a choice to, you know, this day or this day, we would be able to tell which day has fewer staff gone to make a better choice, I'm sure, right? With the computer program.
Yeah.
I think it'd be pretty easy. So
Yeah.
less people would be affected too, that way.
I would think so. And I guess that's all we're
We just
looking
want
for,
to
just
start
an
the
acknowledgement.
conversation.
Yeah.
Continue it.
I don't think I don't think there's any opposition because we do want to follow it, and obviously, Memorial Day is kind of that end of year type thing. We don't want to come back afterward, but we just want to make sure that those people who do have something planned, we have we have some sort of solution for them, some sort of appeal process, some sort of something in place. Now, that being said, when you make the decision, you're right. ASOP is already in place. They've already got so if it's a day off, though, it wouldn't be a personal day.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
All right.
I never thought of that.
It seems like a really good idea.
And it was. I was thinking for a second, but wait a second, it's personal day. It's a
It
free
was a
day.
day off, so nobody would have put in for it.
Then nobody
yeah.
would have put in for it.
Yeah.
And then how do you tell somebody who says, well, I had plans and I've already got the trip booked, how do you tell them, okay, I want to see, or, it's, I don't know. I mean, I'm all for this discussion, absolutely.
I don't know that I have a good answer for you right now.
Well, to remind us, we have to have something that's ratifiable.
Right.
And unfortunately, if there's not something in place, I don't know if it's ratifiable.
So you don't think it's ratifiable with the language as it is now?
As it is right now, I think it is ratifiable.
But you interpret the language differently the way it is right
The
now?
interpretation of language is different.
Okay.
Is when you sign the contract, are you signing the calendar? When you sign the contract, are you signing the contract with that calendar?
Right.
So I think there has to be some sort of language that's in there.
Okay. Well, I
We go
think
back and,
Mrs. Schwartz and I will have to ponder on that and think about what we could do to make the language more clear and ratifiable for both parties.
Yeah.
So.
Do we have time for another one?
12 minutes. Can't hurt to get it into
Another short one for you, Dr. Sullivan.
which one's this?
This one's the district stipend for district moves.
Oh, I haven't.
We introduced this last time as stipends for moves, and we decided, okay, as long as we were writing language, we might as well write language. So, adding to vacancies and transfers, item C, stipend for teachers, and then again, of course, this is all negotiable, but we threw it out there, and this is what we're potentially would look for.
So that's the issue, correct? Never mind, right? If we're going to follow IBB, and we start with, the issue is stipends for transfers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then what would be, is the next thing, interest?
I think you have to define the issue.
Okay, so let's define it. Or did we do that last time?
Oh, we did not.
Well, the issue, definition of the issue is we have many teachers who have been asked to move from school to school and utilize their own personal time to pack and unpack, and in some cases move. And obviously with Hagen they won't have to move, but they'll still have to pack and unpack.
So you're not talking about transfers, though?
Well, we do have that in there, but that, you know, in this one right here. But we're talking about people who are moving schools.
So reassignments.
You know,
'Cause
we do have that in here. But again, like we said, you know, it's something that we can negotiate.
Because I thought I heard Sarah mention last meeting that it wouldn't include those that are requesting to transfer, but, and I know that we hadn't brought finality to that. But
Right.
I started calculating how many people, and you saw that.
Right. You sent that email, yes, sir.
And that's changed as of, it changes every day with different people going different places, but that was more those that, I didn't count those that
Right.
asked to change, and I don't think there's any Dickinson Middle School people that will say, I don't want to go up there, just leave me here at Hagen. That wouldn't be good unity.
You know, well, when we sat and discussed this, you know, we decided to throw the transfers in. You know,
Okay.
the requested transfers in
Okay,
as
just
well,
so
just because, you know, again, they are moving, and as we don't want to exclude them, and you know, if we negotiate down, well, you know, it is what it is. But you know, hey, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah. So it's 300 if the district, if it's like the middle school issue.
Correct.
For all of those people that are having to pack up and go up there. And then if it's from room 1A at Lincoln to 4C at Lincoln, then it's 200. And then if a teacher requests a transfer to a different assignment building, then it's 100. Okay.
And I'm pretty sure we're all aware of how many hours our teachers do put in their rooms in the summertime, and it goes well beyond 10 hours for most of them. And this is just added work because they have to unpack, they have to reorganize, and so forth.
Mr. Reed, does this change significantly the calculations that you
Yeah, it would change
did?
it some. You know, the email that I sent out, I had 50 Dickinson middle school teachers that were reassigned, but there would be 1, 2, maybe 3 then that were transfers that would be included in that. So there, you know, it's not going to be huge dollar amounts, but I think we have maybe a half dozen transfers that have been or more approved this year, requested by them to go to this new position. And so there's probably another, but I had those people that were that were being moved within the building at 300 too, so that'll reduce that. Yeah, give or take, it's still going to be in that neighborhood of the number that was on my email. Might be a little more because of transfers. In terms of dollars.
So did we define the issue? As teachers are utilizing their personal time for packing, is that the issue?
The issue is, you know, it's
So then if we go to options, if we define an issue, right? Or not?
We go to interest and then option.
Not getting this. Interest next.
Yeah, but we're also getting really close on time at this point.
Okay.
You want to define interest at the next meeting?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Do you want to define the interest at the next meeting? Because
Sure.
we have about 4 minutes, and I
Yep.
think Mrs. Rick has to leave at 6:30.
Yep.
So if there's no objection, then we'll move to debriefing and scheduling the next meeting.
What was that coming?
Only been an hour.
The meeting minutes from March 30th were approved and signed by both parties. There was a brief explanation of the tentative agreements that are verbal, tentative agreements that are signed, and items that have been removed from the list of topics to be discussed. Item A, simplified leave language, was discussed. The DEA will take the information back and work on some revised language for the next meeting. Flexibility of leave, item C was discussed. This will be presented to the cabinet on Monday to get some input for consideration by the party. Stipend for and in addition to that, the DEA provided some possible language modifications for item C. Item I, stipend for district moves, was discussed, and the DEA provided a possible solution for item C. That will be further deliberated at the next meeting. Item O, school calendar, was discussed, and that's about it.
Ongoing discussion.
Item O, there's an ongoing discussion. And so, the next item would be to schedule the next meeting date and time.
Where are you gonna be next week, Mr. Schwartz?
Missouri,
Yeah, what part of Missouri?
where there's fabric.
I think we should just have the meeting there. Makes sense.
Looks to me.
It's like a road trip. And that's all of next week, you're gone,
Monday through Thursday.
Monday through Thursday. Okay. You don't suppose anybody wants to meet on Friday? Good Friday.
Good Friday.
Oh, yeah, never mind, that's right, I keep forgetting that. Okay. Are we looking 2 weeks out then?
Yeah, looking at that week of the 17th. We have for track that day, that week.
Well, we wouldn't have anything on Monday or Wednesday. We know that.
So Monday the 17th or Wednesday the 19th would work.
Okay. Monday the 17th, there's no school.
Correct.
I think I have to do an airport run that evening. But Wednesday the 19th, I could do earlier in the afternoon than usual. That works for anybody.
You're talking 5:30? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying I could do early. It's like today I had work until 5, but that day I don't have work quite that late. So I could do more right after school if we wanted or needed to. So that was an option that was put forth for today, but I couldn't do today.
Well, it's better for us to go 5:30, 6 o'clock,
Okay.
because the three of us are coaching track.
And I'm coaching.
We have a golf
Oh,
course
you're
too.
coaching golf.
There's got golf.
Okay. Well then, I guess I can make that work. So what time is best for you guys?
Yeah,
Something work
that's
for you?
fine.
I mean, 5:30 is a stretch, but we can make that work if we have to.
But 6 is way better.
6 is better. Gives you
It's fine.
That's fine, you can do 6.
6 o'clock.
Does that work for your schedule, Dr. Sullivan?
It does.
David, you can-
April 19th,
sounds good.
6 p.m.
Forgot to change it to PM for today, so my alarm went off at 5:30 this morning that I was supposed to be here. Make sure I get it right this time.
So the agenda for the next meeting, I'm assuming we'll pick up with items A, C, I, and possibly O.
And what was the target date we set in our ground rules? We're getting close, right?
I think it was May 1, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Our session is gonna be-
right. I do know, and in all complete honesty, I should tell you, because we did have the conversation back in the very beginning about ratification before or after the administrators, and it was actually a vote at DEA not to ratify till after administrators. So we would have to go back to DEA to have that revoted upon.
Okay. Well, we might have to do that. I mean, I believe that it's on our agenda for Monday, and I don't know how long negotiations will take with the administrators.
Well, I just wanted to be honest.
I
And let
appreciate-
you know that that was actually a vote that was taken.
Appreciate the information and honesty very much.
Don't leave home without it.
Say, he hasn't
Wasn't-
banged the
I
gavel
wasn't
yet.
sure we were adjourned yet.
Very good, everything. One day I actually drove around the block.
Let's take care of her.
So